Okay. So hopefully, well, now happily the weird reverb thing is gone, and I'm going to share my screen, and it's sharing into infinity, which is awesome. We're not going to do that. So I have a beautiful Prezi for you guys, and that thing is just not going to work. So we're going to talk it through, and maybe that's just how it's supposed to be. So um, I'm going to minimize this and kind of move some things around so I can see into the event, basically into the chat box. And I don't want to look at myself because I think it's hilarious. So anyway, once you guys start arriving, just type in the chat box. Let me know that you are there. And I think after this, I'm never using Zoom again. I mean, Google Hangouts again. I clearly don't love it. So I hope that you guys are doing well and that you are finding me in the, let's see. Let's see. Elle, are you finding me? All right, so hopefully we'll start getting people to come back in. It was a little confusing. Hey, Tina Marie, how are you doing? Yes, Zoom is much better. I'm never doing Google. And I have a beautiful, beautiful Prezi that I'm not going to be sharing with you, but that's okay. So as long as you guys are coming in, I'm happy. Not love, yeah. Hi, Elle. So everyone start introducing yourselves. We're going to get started. I need a new wig, I think. um, got your notebook ready. Ooh, 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 ooh. I'm very excited about this, actually, even though the tech, as usual, did crazy things. But that's okay because we're going to learn stuff. And I think that this is going to be really helpful to people as they look towards 2018 and how they network in general. So it's, even though the title is how to kick ass networking at conferences, really this philosophy, this approach could be used for any networking event. So don't be rigid about it. Just kind of use some of the ideas and tips. And as you guys, could you guys share this with people in case they missed that second link? Every time I do a live stream, my nose gets run. I don't know why. So again, I'm excited. Hi, Tina Marie. I'm so excited to see you. Oh, like, you know what I mean? Like sort of see you, but not really. So if you guys could share that link, that would be awesome. And both me and both myself and Letitia had some trouble with tech. I don't know why, but that's okay. We're gonna sage this and then get started. So the only weird thing is I want to follow. Huh. Okay, so I'm gonna give it another couple of minutes and then we're gonna just go ahead and get started. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and get started. And hopefully I'm getting more people coming in. And I'm gonna just drop a note here. Okay. This is the link that actually works. And actually, I just found out a friend of mine is moving to Denver like this week or something. So that's going to be awesome. And oh, I'm going to click out of that. Okay. We're going to network. And I'm actually very excited about this because I love meeting people. Ooh, yes, you got your where's my wine? What? I'm doing things wrong over here. I do not have my wine, so I'm making mistakes already, but that's okay. That'll be next time. And next time we're doing Zoom. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. People can just drop in as they arrive. They can announce themselves. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this webinar is I actually have been asked by several people to do this. I don't mean like a couple. I mean, I was kind of pressured a little bit into sharing how I'm meeting all these people. And initially I was like, well, this is just like a thing I do. Like I always meet people. And then I realized that actually, especially in terms of conferences, I do have a strategy, but I've been using it. I've been just facilitating it for so long. It's like a thing that I do. So a little bit about myself, and I want to make sure that I'm on the Prezi. So before we go further, we're going to talk about networking authentically. So I think a lot of times you get into a networking webinar or conversation, and it's very much what can you do for other people? Like the way that you talk about that experience is not very natural. For me, that doesn't make sense because you're meeting people. And so I want people who are meeting other people to do it in a very authentic way. So that basically means to me, you don't have to change. Do you? You can be quirky, introverted, extroverted, whatever it is that you are, that's how you're going to present yourself to the world. So I understand that I'm quirky, that I have big hair, that I'm random. I get that, but that's how I am consistently. And so there's really no point in changing how I am when I'm in a networking situation because people will figure it out anyway, and you can't change who you are. So as I talk about networking, I want you to be aware that I want you to be you in any situation that you find yourself in where you're connecting with people who are new to you or potentially people who may change what you're doing with your business, with your life, whatever. And I think that that can be very intimidating and a little scary. So what we're going to cover, uh, Prezi looks nice. Basically, we're going to talk about the nature of relationships and why it plays so heavily and how you will potentially network. Okay. We're going to, I'm going to kind of talk about why so few people have an overall conference strategy other than meet 5 people a day. It's like 1,000 people at a conference. Of course, you're going to meet 5 people a day. So that's like a non-strategy. I want you to think about who the most important person you need to meet at any conference is. What can you get out of networking? Or rather, I ask you, what can you get out of a networking situation from another person? That actually came up a couple of times in the questions that I asked yesterday. And you're going to find what I have to say about that very interesting. I'm going to share my before, during, and after conference strategies. So there is a strategy. We're going to talk about that. And then finally, I'm going to share the new tool that I use that people freaking are losing their minds over every time they've interacted with it, to the point where I actually received an email about a week and a half ago, and kind of detailing their experience with this tool. I'll read that email and let you know what they said. It's pretty awesome. So a little bit about me. I'm Michelle. I run a blog called michelleismoneyhungry.com. I also run a podcast called Girl Gone Frugal Again. I was a debutante back in the day, a cheerleader. I auditioned for Road Rules and Real World. I didn't get it. I lived in Paris, lived in Okinawa as a teeny tiny. I've studied French and Spanish. I continue to study Spanish. I'm also the head of Colorado FinCon. Oh, and by the way, I was in an R. Kelly video. I'm really serious. I really was in an R. Kelly video. So I share all this because, and it feels really random, like, wow, Michelle, you just kind of led with that. Like, what happened to your professional credentials? Well, the fact is, leading with your professional credentials is really boring. It's kind of boring. And it depending on the situation, you really don't need to lead with that. And I think that a lot of times people find themselves in a conference and they lead with, "Hi, my name is Joe, and this is what I do." And it's like so boring, and you don't remember this person. So you leave having met person after person after person who are basically nameless, faceless people who are boring because obviously, if you're at a blogging conference, everyone blogs. Duh. If you're at a vlogging conference, everyone's vlogging. So you have to do something that kind of sets you apart from other people. You have to, and that's easy because it's being yourself. But when you're networking, being yourself can be a little tricky. So, what is my actual online street cred? Like, why am I even doing this? So, again, I did say that I was actually asked by several friends to share this information. But in addition to that, in the personal finance space, I'm a financial resilience expert. I've learned everything the hard way. I'm a freelance writer, which is both one of my least favorite but most lucrative ways to make money. So why would I say no to it? I'm a presenter. So basically, I've spoken at a number of conferences throughout the years. This year, I spoke at Podcast Movement and FinCon, specifically on the topic of monetizing your podcast with blogger skills with a Z. I'm the official girl who knows everyone and meets everyone. And that's part of the reason I'm talking to you guys today. I meet all the people. I didn't get on Road Rules. It was so sad. I was so primed for it. I would have been the bohemian hippie black girl because they have labels. But they always got the angry girl. So that's probably why I didn't fit in. I wasn't angry enough, but we won't go there. We won't go there. So we talked about my street cred. And so we're going to I'm going to tell you what we're going to also talk about during the course of this. So basically, we're also going to talk about the follow-up process. And again, I actually had someone tell me about a week and a half ago that my follow-up process and the email that I specifically sent was the best follow-up she's ever had in her entire career. David Bach emailed me today and asked me about this tool that I'm going to use, that I'm going to tell you about at the end of the webinar. So please do stay on till the end because you'll really want to know about this tool. But the people that were connecting with me and really talking about how much they loved the follow-up were actually people that I've known for a while. This person who said that I left them the best follow-up they've ever had, I've known this person for 4 years. But they also happen to be a representative of a huge financial concern because this was a person that I collaborate with and speak to fairly regularly and is a part of the FinCon community. It was a big deal, and I was really, really moved by it and excited. Let's be honest, it's not about what you know, but who you know a lot of the time. So I'm going to get a little meta. I'm going to get a little deep here and talk about that. A lot of times, especially in a community like the Elevate community, we're talking about access. And in networking, you are working to gain access to people who can help put you in a different space. Whether that's with more information that you may not have known about, tools you've never used before, mastermind groups that you didn't know existed and that now you're a part of. Networking is huge. In order to really grow your business, your profession, everything like that, you need to know people. I can't even say it any more bluntly than that. You need to know people. And that's why networking is so important. I would say that almost 90% of the opportunities that I've connected with, 85, 90% in the past 3 years were because of who I knew. So this training is so important because a lot of people just don't know the people that they need to help them get to where they want to go. And so when you go to conferences, the whole idea is to facilitate that. But I think that it can be very uncomfortable and weird and just like a confusing process. So I want to ask you a question. If it's not about what you know, but who you know, a lot of the times, I want you to share a couple of examples of that we're seeing in our lives right now. I can think of one right now that's just ridiculous. So share in the comments because I want to make sure you guys are engaged. Think of an example of a person who's in a really good situation or has a great opportunity because of who they know. I know there's at least two of you. So Elle or Tina, one of you guys, you need to like drop an example down there. So who can you think of that is in a really good position because of who they know? Well, I've got a list. I'm gonna get started. You guys can start, just dropping names as well. All the Kardashians. Ooh. All of them, because of their mom. Ah, yes, Jared Kushner. That one's I was thinking politically, actually, so thank you, Sandy, for sharing that. The guy that's been nominated to go into the judicial court, who's a blogger and has no experience with law. There's a lot of people who are being positioned to do things. Those are some slightly political ones, and then there's the Kardashians. But my point is, there are tons and tons and tons of people out there. Beyonce, yeah, because who she knows. There are tons of actually, Ed Sheeran. That's right, because they broke up, and she had to sing a song about it because they have bad blood between them. So my point is, that this makes my case. It's who you know. It's really hard to break into things if you don't know people. So we've gone through some of these examples. Now we're going to just start getting into nitty-gritty, especially because of the tech issues. So before going to a conference, I want to ask you, what's your process and do you have one? When you think about networking, how does it make you feel? I need you to drop some comments in the chat box. Drop some comments. So do you have a process when you go to a conference, like a networking process that you think about? And does it work for you? So drop that in the comments. What's your process? I love the Ed Sheeran one. Ladies, so seriously, who do you, so should I assume you have no process if there's no comments in there? Which is fine. There's no judgment. All right. So if you don't have a process, that's okay. We're going to talk about it. But think about it this way. You're spending thousands of dollars to attend these events. And so if you're not thinking about how you can position yourself well so that you can meet people, that's kind of wasted money. Because ultimately, it's going to be very difficult for you to meet your long-term goals if you're not networking effectively. So Elle is saying that for FinCon, she had a list of people that she wanted to meet and engage with. Typically, she doesn't have a list. Tina is saying she's new to conferences, but when she when she networks locally, she typically will find people in her industry and talk to them about creating relationships and possibly get referrals. So that's good. That's good. So that at least you're not kind of going and hoping to meet people. Like you're thinking about, how is this going to work well? For me, I'm going to say when I go to a conference, again, I have a strategy, but ultimately, I really love meeting people. So it makes it really easy for me to network because that's what I start with. I'm excited to meet you on a human level. That is it. Okay. So I'm going to get meta on you right now. And I think that this is where, ooh, Dorothea. Okay, so Dorothea is saying she generally has a goal of who she wants to meet around media, podcasters, what have you. So that is actually a great segue into what is really confusing about conferences and why sometimes people struggle. with building relationships within the course of one. So basically, there are two ways that you're relating to people at a conference. The first one is transactional. So initially, I actually had a video of Jerry Maguire during the whole "show me the money" thing. Okay, so everyone remembers the "show me the money, show me the money. I love Black people." Remember that? Remember that? So that is an excellent example of a transactional interaction. Okay, Jerry and the guy whose name I've just brain farted on. You guys remember the guy's name that Cuba Gooding Jr. plays? Drop his name in there. Anyway, they're having this conversation, which is transactional. One person is expecting something from the other. And a transactional experience is basically defined as this: related to the conducting of business, especially buying or selling. So when you go to a conference, a lot of times people kind of have that hat on. They're like, I'm going to the conference. I'm going to meet people. People are going to change my money, change my business. You know, like it's a very transactional approach. But the thing is, that actually is not ideal, because I'll tell you why. It's not ideal because networking in and of itself is defined as the exchange of information or services among individuals, groups, or institutions, specifically the cultivation of productive relationships for employment or business. But the key word in that is relationships. So we're talking about this transactional experience, but really what's happening is you have a different way that you really should be connecting with people, and people are forgetting that. And I've lost a slide. It's one of the no, I didn't lose a slide. People are forgetting that actually, instead of approaching people in a transactional way, it's a relational way. And so a relational way of connecting with people is basically building a rapport or relationship. That's it. And that's why conferences are confusing, because they provide several different ways to interact with people, either in a transactional way where you're like trying to connect to make money, or in a relational way where you're trying to meet and connect with people for long-term friendships. Girl, the slide, there are technical difficulties. Chase, I am referencing the slides. You and Chase, just relax. I'm just sharing everything. So anyway, when you're at a conference, you're confused because you're relational. You guys are hilarious. Because there are two things going on, basically. You're approaching things from either a transactional viewpoint, when typically most of your interactions at a conference are relational. Like, they're trying to build a rapport with you, a relationship. They're not necessarily wanting to go deep into business right there. And in fact, I've had an experience and I'm going to use FinCon as the primary example for this workshop, but I've gone to a number of other conferences where people kind of lead with the business, and I'm kind of Tina, you're cracking me up. People lead with the business, but you're turned off because you're like, what about me? What about the human that you're talking to? So that, I think, is part of why people get confused with networking. Is they're approaching networking at conferences, they're approaching it from a transactional viewpoint, which is basically, what can I get from them? Now, by the way, there is nothing wrong with this kind of mentality, because I had it, but the thing is, there's a place and time. So exactly, Dorothea, you have to meet people. So at FinCon, when I was specifically in the freelancers marketplace, obviously that's very transactional, because I'm trying to find clients. That is, I mean, it's very clear why we are there. But if we're at the party, the Halloween party, and we're like, "Ticka, ticka, ticka, ticka," and then you're like, "Hey, I'd love to talk about da, 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 da," it's just it's jarring. It's very bizarre. It doesn't make sense because that's a relational moment. That's a moment where you should be twerking or like whatever you need to be doing on the dance floor. That's what should be happening. Sorry about the dog. My neighbors are home. Anyway, so I do think that that's something really, really important before you go to a conference. Look at the calendar, look at the conference schedule to see when when you need to be transactional versus relational. And then I think that it will make it easier for you to connect with people because you're not getting your switches, like you're not getting your signals kind of flipped because you're communicating in the appropriate way at the appropriate time. So I have a question for you guys. Who is the most important person you need to meet at your next networking event? Drop the info, drop your ideas in the chat box. Okay, double trouble. So who is the most important person you need to meet at your next conference? So all 5 of you guys drop the idea down there. So who do you need to meet? You're thinking. Who's the most important person you need to meet at your next conference? Aw, thank you. That actually is a good answer, but that's a good answer. But I want you guys to drop in some more ideas. Who is say you're going? Okay, so some other ideas. Who's the most important person you need to meet? Okay, so I'm gonna be honest. This was kind of a trick question, and the reason why it's a trick question is every single person you meet is the most important person you need to meet. And you need to meet the wingman for any of the people that you really, really want to meet, and you have no idea how to connect with them without being a creeper. So, what do I mean by being the wingman? Like, what's this whole idea? So, I'm a really good wingman, and and basically, it's similar to dating. Okay, your wingman may or may not realize that they're your wingman. Okay, so I didn't realize I was Elle's wingman because I just didn't know. So a wingman will do the following. They may be that person who's completely clueless about the bigwigs at the conference that you're at. So I was at Podcast Movement with Elle. I had no idea that Andrew Warner, I still kind of don't know who he is, but he's a big deal. He's got like 30 million downloads. I had no idea who he was. And I'm just talking to him and I'm like thinking that it looked familiar. He also was kind of cute. So it was like, there were things going on. And I was like, excuse me, have I met you before? Like, do you go to FinCon? Like, literally, that's what I asked because I had no idea who he was. And so Elle is frantically typing in her phone, like, what is wrong with this girl? Like, writing, like, trying to get me to understand that I am in the presence of some bigwig, but I have no idea. So the ideal wingman is a person, or wing person, if we're PC, is a person who is really comfortable just meeting everyone. And if you're even an extrovert, but kind of a little reserved about doing something like that, or if you're an introvert especially, you need that person. Also, a wingman who's the friend of the person who's running things. So sometimes the person who's running things, they're busy. They're busy. They do not have time to be meeting all these people. Like, they're sweet and they do it, but they're preoccupied. Networking is all about the long-term play. And I think that a lot of people they go to a conference and they want everything to happen fast. It's always a long-term play. Period. End of story. And that goes back to the relational connections that you meet at a conference. It's always long-term. So if you go to a conference, you were discreet. I just couldn't figure out what was happening. if you go to a conference and you're just like, hey, um, meeting all these people and you have no clue who they are, it's the best thing ever because you're not going to weird out or fangirl over people because you have no clue who they are. So that dog, I swear to goodness, I'm sorry if you can hear that dog. He's driving me crazy. But anyway, so when you go to a conference, remember, any person that you meet is the most important person because you don't know if they're going to eventually become Pat Flynn. You don't know if they're going to be Dorothea Kelly. You don't know if they're Elle Martinez. You don't know if they're Tina Marie. You don't know if they're Sandy Smith. You don't know if they're Jason Butler. You don't know who they're going to be. And I think that people kind of get in this headspace, like the bigwigs, oh good, the bigwigs. And I'm like, there are a lot of people, including yourself, who are out in the wings about to become a bigwig too. So I want people to really think about the fact that even though some people have like a level 3 strategy for meeting people and connecting with people when they network, for other people, don't overwhelm yourself with I need to meet Pat Flynn. You don't need to meet Pat Flynn. You might need to meet his friend, and maybe eventually like you meet his friend and his friend's like, oh yeah, like I met so-and-so. So again, everything that you're doing in terms of networking is long-term play. So does anyone have any questions or comments, observations, or thoughts about that? And just so you guys know, I'm actually going to re-record this so that it's beautiful with the Prezi. But I'm actually kind of really enjoying this. This has been really funny. So if you have any questions or anything, drop them in the comments. I'm going to continue moving on because I want to be mindful of your time. Okay. So, shoot. I did forget one thing actually, which is hugely important. When you're networking, in fact, I know why I forgot it because I'm okay. Okay, I've skipped something. Sorry. Hmm. Okay, so one of the things I forgot to mention, and this is actually hugely important, is the process. So somehow I'm going to keep looking on my end to make sure that I can find my all the details, but I'm not seeing it. Got it. Okay. Um, I love Prezi, but then they have like there's a lot of depth to them, so it's easy to lose a slide. Okay, so when you go to a conference, I mentioned earlier, I kind of asked like, do you have a process? So there are a couple of things I want to say before you even get there. So one, and I know that Dorothea does this. So first of all, networking is a long-term process. If you're already in a community like FinCon, oh, this is a good one. How do you get a wingman if you don't know anyone at the conference? Oh, okay. So before we even go there, let's talk about that. Um, you're gonna, you might find this creepy, but you're gonna use your powers of observation. You might start you might be noticing certain people on the conference app. Maybe they're chiming up a lot and they seem really friendly, like virtually. You might see that. I have an example. My friend Jason Steele ran the CardCon conference prior to FinCon, and he had a wingman. He had a friend who was helping him with everything, and that friend was actually kind of the buffer between him and everything else that was going on. So in some cases, if it's an organizer, it's very obvious because they have someone who is their second in command. So PT Philip has Jessica. Jessica is his wingman. Like we all know this. So I know that if I send questions to Jessica or if I give her feedback, I know that Philip's going to get that right away. So in terms of like organizers and stuff, that's easy to figure out. If you're in a social situation, you could figure out who a wingman is by the following example. I was dating all the newbies, not literally. So I was speed dating all the newbies. I was like, I need to meet these people. There's a ton of them. But what that meant was I had to kind of speed through, because there's so many people. So I knew random information about different people. And I was listening actively to what people were saying. And when I figured out connections, I would take a friend and be like, oh my God, I met this guy and you guys have this in common. And I would wingman them. I would literally connect them and be like, bye, because I had more people to meet. So if you notice someone doing that, that's a wingman. Okay. You can be a wingman. And I actually would say that that is one of the best skills you could cultivate, especially as a person. If you're like new to a community, pay attention to who does what. One, because people don't pay attention to who does what. People are not actively engaged in what other people do nowadays. I hate to say it that way. I think that part of why I'm good at networking is I really actively listen to what people have to say. If I could give you my number one piece of advice, actively listen to what people have to say and remember it in some way. So you could, and this was going to go to my logistics. I like people's cards, their business cards. What I don't like, exactly. So Dorothea was talking about you can meet people online before the conference and then plan to connect. Sometimes people are not having great networking success, not because they're bad networkers. It could be because the actual conference doesn't facilitate active networking. So I've been to conferences that don't have apps, which in 2017, almost 2018 is ridiculous. I've been to conferences that don't provide a list of attendees. That doesn't make sense, because why am I going to an event where I can't reach out to people? I've been to conferences that have really weird social events where you just are like, this is too weird for me to even enjoy. So there's one conference in particular with mommies. That's all I'm going to say. The best food ever, though. They have really good food. But their social events are really weird. And so I don't want to attend them because they're just weird. They're weird. So if you're at a conference that that doesn't have systems or situations set up so that you can have successful networking outcomes, you need to think about maybe that's not a conference you should be wasting your money on. And in fact, part of my networking strategy is to look at conferences and see, are there opportunities within the context of this whole conference to make this a smaller space for me so I can actually meet people and connect. Those opportunities include, of course, parties, meetups for different niches within the community. It could be parenting, it could be art, it could be money, whatever it is. There's a niche within the niche, or niche, whichever you want to say. Is there a Facebook group, a closed Facebook group? Do they have a Slack? Whatever it is, there needs to be at least one or two of these things happening so that you can meet these people prior to any conference you choose to attend. Furthermore, if you really understand that long-term kind of focus in terms of networking, what I would say is if there are opportunities within your community to be in a leadership role that's not too annoying. So basically, it has to be something that is fun for you, not too much work, but gets you out there so people know who you are. Do it. There is a reason why I am the head of Colorado FinCon. They're the easiest group of people to work with because all they want to do is go to happy hour or go ski. But because I'm the head of Colorado FinCon, I can share with people, hey, I'm the head of Colorado FinCon. So when I met David Bach, he told me that when the kids are out of high school and they're in college, they want to move to Colorado. He literally told me that. And I was like, hey, I'm the head of Colorado FinCon. So when you're ready to move, I've got a website about Colorado and I'm the head of Colorado FinCon. And I would love to help you with anything you need. I totally told him that. And he actually emailed me today because of my follow-up process. And he wanted to know more about it, but he really appreciated how I connected with him. So I will say that when you're networking, especially if it's the premier event in the community that you're in, look at the long-term process. Like, don't just go for, the conference and then think you're going to really meet people and then like jet. And then it's going to be this deep experience. That's not how it works. It just isn't. And I want to really talk about why long-term focus on networking is so important. These people, no, I'm going to put it this way. Who buys from you? You guys are entrepreneurs. Who buys from you? They're people who know, like, and trust you. Likewise, with networking, what happens is doors begin to open. So I know that once I show that I am consistently doing something really well, like I'm really focused, I'm really passionate about something, I could reach out to Dorothea, and I have actually, and she will give me advice about something or support me on something, right? I understand that if I continue to share amazing information in the Elevate community or the Elevate Mastermind, so Elevate community members, there's actually a mastermind. Sorry, like it's a limited number of people. But my point is, we actively give all the time in that community. And so other people see that and they're like, you know what? This person's really focused on this thing. I've got their back. I'm willing to stake my reputation that they're going to be someone that I could actually share with other people. There's a risk for people to share their information, their hard-earned network, whatever it is that you're trying to gain access to. This is why I'm saying when you're meeting people, it has to be relational versus transactional, because quite honestly, the best networking happens over a long amount of time. It just does. So when I speak to, so when I contact like Nick Loper, I'm like, hey, Nick, I have this thing. Do you mind doing it? He's like, yes, but that's because I've been connecting with him for years. I've been helping him with stuff. And I'm going to be very blunt. When you're networking, it's give, 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 ask. You don't network with the purpose, with the end result in mind. You network for the journey, is my philosophy. So because you may not be ready for the help and access that other people might want to give you. You might not be there yet. So I will take myself as an example. If the technical stuff had happened this time last year, I probably would have had a meltdown. I would have been like, oh my God, Sandy, like she let me go live in the group and oh my God, I'm freaking out. The tech. No, this year I've been working on this for years. So the tech broke, whatever. Like, I'm still going to deliver an amazing amount of content. I'm going to re-record it, and then people can watch it with the beautiful Prezi, but you guys will be served well. And so when people see that I'm doing that, they believe what I'm doing. And so they'll feel comfortable saying, I recommend this person to do this. I recommend this person to meet you. I extend an invitation for this person to be in a mastermind group. And as people of color, and I'm gonna be a little blunt, sometimes it's not a bad idea to really focus on long-term, like, network building, especially if it's with people who maybe you're not used to dealing with, who may be outside of your comfort zone, whatever. This is a group to elevate people of color. I sometimes have to, I feel like it's important to sometimes share something that feels a little awkward but is honest. Okay. You may need more time to facilitate that relationship for people to trust that they can share what you do. That's just the truth. Painful, but it's the truth. Doesn't mean that people are good or bad. It just is a truth. Likewise, you guys are also sharing other people to other people. So that's your reputation. And so you want to really understand that as you meet people and as you nurture these connections, it's always long term. So logistics about conferences. So we talked about the before. You're looking at opportunities to minimize the size of the experience by finding opportunities to play basketball. You notice that at FinCon, most of the dudes played basketball together. Do you understand how much money was on that court? I'm being totally serious. How much money was on that court playing basketball and having fun and like relating to one another normally, because every guy that I seem to know likes to play basketball or soccer or something, you know. Letitia and I, last year, we were in San Diego. We went surfing. We were the only people of color besides the instructor, who was very awesome, who were surfing. We were the only people of color there. And it was an amazing experience. And people remember that we were there, one, because it was an amazing experience. And so we had this really unique connection because we went surfing. So really, you know, push yourself outside of your comfort zone a little bit. That wasn't outside of my comfort zone other than we were in the ocean and something could have eaten me because I didn't grow up by the ocean. I grew up swimming, but the ocean's like trips me out. But my point is, really, really, really take advantage of those opportunities so that you can meet people naturally. And I think that that's like, if there's anything I can kind of like hone in on is, as you network, everything you do is to create relational opportunities so that when a moment comes so that you can have a transactional opportunity, they're sold. They don't need to be sold on you. You're already a friend. And that's basically what networking is. It's a long-term play to become a trusted connection or friend. That's what you're doing. Some technical things, because you asked some questions and I got distracted because I wanted to answer them. Business cards. So this time I'm at FinCon, I'm collecting all these business cards, and I was just like, what is wrong with these people's business cards? The first thing is, your business card needs to be, I need to be able to write a note on it. I know that sounds weird, but if your card is too dark, it's going to be really hard for people who are good networkers to write down notes about the interaction. And that actually happened to me several times. I also had people give me cards where it was completely unclear who they were. It was really, really strange. Like it was as if I had given my Colorado podcast website card. Like I have a card for my Colorado project. If I'd given that, it just would have been really confusing because I couldn't figure out what was their personal finance project. Now, actually on my Colorado card, it connects to my personal, like if you were to look at the work at me, it connects to the Michelle is Money Hungry because I'm smart like that. But a lot of people aren't cross-pollinating what their projects are. So it made it really difficult. And I'm sorry, I'm not gonna search for you, especially if I don't know you. Now, if you're like a Pat Flynn, you're easy to find. But if you're brand new, I don't want to have to like search through all the cards. And I probably have 60, 70, 80 cards easily. And they're about a third of them are wasted because they really didn't serve people well. Have a picture of yourself on the card if at all possible. I will never not have a picture of myself on my card again. Like they will always have a picture because then no one's guessing who I am when they have my card. It's very clear. Don't make it impossible for people to find you with your card. So think about that. It has to be a material that people can write on. It has to be light enough so people can write on it. It has to, have information that gets us to you easily. Make it easy. We're not going to search through all that to find you, especially if you're new. I have a question for you guys because I did this a little out of order. What makes you interesting? Now, I already told you that I was in a R. Kelly video and I was a debutante, and put your picture on the card, put it on, because how are they supposed to know who you are? There's like 8 billion people they've met, and half the time some people have been drinking, asleep, who knows what's going on with them. Put your picture on the card. Um, so what makes you unique? So one of the things, I was talking to my friend about sharing networking and networking ideas, and one of the things she said, which I found really interesting, was she's like, a lot of people struggle with networking because they feel like they're not interesting. So I want you to share what makes you interesting. Yes. And it could be anything. It could be that you're a mom. It could be that you're from Detroit. It could be that um whatever it is. You were born in South Korea? That's so interesting. And see how I reacted? Whoa. I never would have guessed that about you with the scotch and cigars. Okay. I am also obsessed with Harry Potter. Elle, what makes you interesting besides the fact that you won the Plutus Award this year? What's going on? Dorothea, I know you're famous, but like, what makes you guys interesting? So I really want you to share this. Oh, 감사합니다. So one of my favorite foods is Korean food, and I eat a lot of banchan and like Korean barbecue, but that's a whole nother conversation. So next year we're going for Korean barbecue, but it probably won't be as good. Really? I had no idea. See, so Elle, you need to drop some. I already told you guys I was in an R. Kelly video. That's a very unsafe space. Oh, sci-fi geek, Firefly. Oh, see, so you see how I'm reacting to this? How I'm like, oh, you want people, when you're meeting them, you want them to leave like, wow, that was interesting. Like, I've known Dorothea forever. I had no idea she was adopted. No idea. I've known Elle forever. I had no idea she liked scotch. No clue. Um, the Korean food. So you want to you want to think about what makes you interesting. So I'm going to talk about an interaction that I had with one of the newbies that I was speed dating. So I'm talking to this group. I already like wingmanned it, dropped some people off, like connected people. And I'm talking to this group of random people. And oh no, yeah, Firefly. Oh, okay. Well, you don't have to ask twice. Okay. Um, party at Tina's place. So I'm talking to this group of new people. They're completely new to me. I have no idea what they do other than they're very friendly. That's it. We start randomly talking about Stephen Hawking's because one of the people talks about how he likes physics. And I was like, oh my God, I totally am into, oh my God, you're hilarious. I'm like, oh my God, I'm totally into physics and Stephen Hawking's too. Like we geek out. And the reason why I was excited about that was they had just released his thesis, The Theory of Everything. You three are hilarious. And so me and the newbies are talking about the theory of everything. So I actually was like, oh my God, didn't they have a movie about this? So me and one of the attendees, one of the newbies, we have not a real date, but we have a date to watch this movie and discuss it in a week or two. Completely random connection. And this person has actually helped me with video stuff because he is a really good vlogger. This is something that I don't do. Oh my God, you guys. No, he's real. That's Hawking. Oh my goodness. You know what? I love this. This is the best thing ever. So those natural connections are a lot. You know what? I'm going to cosplay too. Hold those thoughts, ladies. Hold those thoughts. We're losing control here. So my point is, natural connections last longer just because they're natural. They're not stilted randomly about a movie. and the theory of everything, which I'm actually going to be reading in another couple of weeks, but is a, like a thesis, a doctoral thesis. So it's happening. It's happening. So it is a doctoral thesis. So it's going to take me a little while to like think about it. And I'll need a glass of wine as I go through it. So finally, I feel like I've covered basically everything on my slides. Do you guys have questions? Because I'm going to talk about follow-up. And I'm looking at the slides now. So I'm going to ask you one thing and then we'll talk about follow-up. And I think it's actually really important. How do you guys choose the conferences that you go to? Are they emotional decisions because you have friends who are going there, or are they based on ROI? Neither one is wrong. For the love of God, people, focus, focus. So seriously, we got 15 minutes and then we're done. But I'm not sure about cosplay yet because I'm pretty sure that I might dress up as one of the Black Panther things because no one's face is like covered. Okay, so Dorothea is being very strategic. She doesn't have money that she wants, she doesn't want to waste her money. Tina is picking conferences so she can learn more and are related to her industry. Elle, what about yourself? How are you picking conferences? So there's a reason why I'm asking if you pick them ROI for the first time. Okay, so what I noticed with myself was that I became very attached to like emotionally attached, to some of the events that I've been attending. And this year I was like, even though I feel some emotion, I realized that a lot of the relationships that I've facilitated at the conferences that I've been going to are offline already. Like I'm seeing people come through Colorado all the time, all the freaking time. I see people all the time, all the time. So for me, I literally, I don't necessarily need to go to FinCon to see people. I go to FinCon because of ROI, return on investment. I'm looking at how do I leave facilitating transactional moments and building up relational connections. That's what I'm looking at FinCon. And when it stops being of service to me, Arizona, when FinCon or any other conference stops being of service to me, I'm not going because it costs money and time. So this year, part of the reason why I'm doing this webinar is I went to 6 conferences this year and I learned something really interesting. First of all, not all conferences are alike. Like not all of them facilitate the same transformation. If you're going because you're emotionally connected to it, the results that you're wanting may be different than going because you're looking for ROI. And that affects how you network. It really does. So when I was just going to FinCon because I love the people, I love the people, it was a different conference for me. I still love the people, but now I want money. I don't have time to be going for, like, my grandma's not well. It's been a really hard year. So for me to keep traveling the way that I did kept me from being able to see my grandma. And that's just not okay. So when I go to conferences now, I'm like, what is my long-term ROI? Are these relationships that I really want to cultivate and grow? How can I, and actually, here's another thing you need to add to your list of things, like a quotable. A lot of times people, again, talk about how can they help me, or what can I get from them when they go in a networking situation. That is the opposite of what you should be doing. You should ask yourself, how can I serve them? How can I be of service to them? Because ultimately, when you're of service to people, they're going to be like, this person is amazing. They always give. They're just so helpful. They just share all this information. Sandy is a wonderful example of that. Now she's in business, but she shares so much, right? And so it's easy for other people to be like, we want to really support her on this endeavor that she's focused on, or what have you. There's a number of people that I can think of where they give. And over again, especially at FinCon and other places that I've gone to and conferences, and every time I hear the same thing: give, give, give. Just give without expectation, because we're all abundance mindset people, right? So if you're giving with an expectation, it's almost like a lack mentality. So just flip the switch and just be like, you know what? I am going to find people that are amazing, that are future friends, that are great people, and that's how that networking relationship will start. And then every time you can give without harming yourselves, because you can be of service and be put yourself in a position where you're saying yes too much. So be careful of that. But if you're able to be of service and give in such a way that is super helpful to other people, they will take notice of that. But you have to do this with just an abundance mindset. Like, you know what? I just feel like I heard that this person has this resource. I'm going to share it. All right. So wrapping things up, I have a new tool that I've been using to follow up with people. People are obsessed with it. David Bach emailed me today to ask what it is. And interestingly enough, my friends who sell Arbonne, that protein powder, they use this tool. But this tool is originally from real estate. And so what I use is a tool called BombBomb.com. I will actually share my affiliate link in the group, so you can check it out. But BombBomb is really interesting because what are like the top 3 ways that people want to interact nowadays? Video, podcasts, or blogs. So BombBomb, you are able to record a video that doesn't embed into your emails. Basically, it's like exists on top of your email. So when people get your email, you have to instruct them like, hey, this is click on the video, it pops out. So you have to educate them a little bit. And because it's new to people in the personal finance space, and it pops open and it shares a pre-recorded email that you've created. I cannot explain to you how much people love it. And what I did was I would write notes on cards, and then I would really pay attention to the interactions where I was following up. And if you're following up 1, 2, 3 weeks later, this is a high impact way to get people to remember you. It is an awesome tool. It's about $50 a month. I highly recommend it. Also, if you have coaching students. And the reason why is it's a high impact way to connect with people. They see your face. So literally, this is what they would see, except for not the wild hair. But they would see your face and you're like, hi. Thank you, Elle, Dorothea, Tina, and Sandy for watching this. The replay is gonna, show soon, and blah, 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 and you can get people to do things with a call to, I can't believe call to action, things like that via the video. I've had more responses with that video email follow-up than I've ever had with anything else, because it's memorable. And even if everyone decided to do that, it's still really memorable because it's a high impact experience. The one thing I would caution you with, if you use a video email interface, is please do not please do not record every email. So don't do a high impact email and then the rest you're typing. Okay? Just type. Because it's a lot more high impact. It resonates with people more. If you record email after email, it feels a little lazy. That would be my only thing that I would say. Finally, conferences that have apps, use them. Podcast Movement, The people were not as great at using the app. I think next year they're going to be a lot better at that. I think it's still new to them, like how to incorporate the app into their conference experience. Please do not email people with the following: hey, let's meet so that we can go through ideas. And no one who's been attending a conference for a while who doesn't know you, they do not want that. Do not do that unless you have 6 months prior, and then it makes sense to request a meeting. I had a couple of people actually want to meet with me, and I felt like, well, I don't know who you are, and that's a little much because I don't know who you are. And it wasn't a meeting it was a meeting where I felt like I was going to be doing work versus let's meet each other naturally through the halls and connect. So I will share BombBomb. I hope this was helpful to you guys. I hope this was helpful to you guys. I appreciate you so much for watching. I will actually re-record this and share it with the group because, of course, tech, what can you do? I will also share the BombBomb affiliate link. I am launching a course, a coaching course, basically, called the Confidence Code. So keep your ears and eyes open for that. I will be launching it kind of soft launch now. And yeah, so I tweaked everything, and we're doing the confidence code. We're going to get people, making money, connecting with people. Doesn't just have to be Selena Soo doing this. It's going to be Michelle Jackson too. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Apparently all of us have to drink scotch the next time we see each other. Apparently that's going to happen. Tina's going to be smoking a cigar, and we're going to be eating Korean food. It's going to be amazing. And if you guys need anything, just email me, let me know. And thank you. I know that with the tech, it was crazy, but hey, it still worked out. So anyway, have a beautiful night. And I appreciate you very, very, very much. Thank you. Yay. And Tina, was this of help to you? Did this give you some food for thought, some ideas? Was there anything new or some like, okay, eureka? So let me know. And then I just wish you guys a very amazing 2018 and just a great time networking in 2018. So bye.